Good morning, children. In today's class, we are going to learn inert pair effect, its consequences, and allotropism in p-block elements. Okay, children. In today's class, we are going to learn important three topics. They are inert pair effect, the consequences of inert pair effect, and allotropism in p-block elements. Pair effect, inert nature, passive nature, not very active. Inert pair effect, pair stands for two. Inert, inertia, in physics you learn no inertia, so like that here, inert pair effect, inability to move, that is inertia. Inert, passive, not active. In heavier post-transition elements, the outer s electrons, Ns, have a tendency to remain inert and show reluctance to take part in chemical bonding, and this property is called as inert pair effect. And this effect is observed in 14, 15 and 16 groups. Listen, children, when we talked about the general electronic configuration of p-block elements, Ns2, Np 1 to 6. That is the general electronic configuration of p-block elements. Here, this Ns electrons are there, no? Those Ns electrons, they don't readily take part in chemical reactions. They don't take part in bond formation. They are very inert. Why they are inert? Because they have got the maximum number of electrons. See, in s orbital, the maximum number of electrons that can be accommodated is 2. So here in ns orbital, in p-block elements, it is already 2. ns2, np 1 to 6. ns2, np 1 to 6 is the general electronic configuration of p-block elements. So here, the s orbital is completely filled. So they are not tensed about anything. They don't have the tendency to lose electron or gain electron. They are happy with what they have because the orbitals are completely filled. Maximum number of electrons are there, so they are not active. They become inert. And they don't take part in bond formation. They don't take part in chemical reactions, and this effect is called as inert pair effect. Pair stands for 2 electrons present in ns orbital. Okay. See, we start the answer for inert pair effect as in heavier post-transition elements. Why do we use the words heavier post-transition elements? Heavier stands for atomic mass is greater, higher atomic mass elements. Post-transition elements, d-block elements are called as transition elements. In our modern periodic table, after d-block elements, we have got p-block elements. So, this effect is observed in p-block elements. Post stands for next. So, next to transition elements. Next to transition elements, what are the elements present in the periodic table? P-block elements. So, in heavier post-transition elements, the outer s electrons, Ns, have a tendency to remain inert and show reluctance to take part in the bonding, and this is known as inert pair effect and shown by the groups 14, 15 and 16. Okay, children, repeatedly asked 2 more questions. P-block elements in the modern periodic table, you have to be thorough with which element belongs to which group. Okay. So here 13th group to 18th group constitute p-block elements. 13th group is boron family, 14th group is carbon family, 15th group is nitrogen family, 16th group is oxygen family, 17th group is halogens, and 18th group is noble gases. So coming to 13th group, it consists of boron, aluminium, gallium, indium, thallium. Okay, children. So thallium belongs to 13th group. Coming to 14th group, carbon, silicon, germanium, tin and lead. Lead belongs to 14th group. Coming to 15th group, nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, bismuth. So bismuth belongs to 15th group. Coming to 16th group, oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium and polonium. Tellurium belongs to 16th group. Thallium belongs to 13th group. Tellurium belongs to 16th group. Okay, then we are having halogens and noble gases. Halogens, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine and astatine. Noble gases, helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon. So these are p block elements in our modern periodic table. 13th group elements are boron, aluminium, gallium, indium, thallium. 14th group, carbon, silicon, germanium, tin and lead. 15th group, nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, bismuth. 16th group, oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium and polonium. Halogens, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine and astatine. Noble gases, helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon. Okay children. In this class we are going to deepen the understanding in inert pair effect, and also we are going to learn the consequences of inert pair effect. What is inert pair effect? The inability of the ns electrons to take part in bond formation is called as inert pair effect. The ns electrons, they don't take part in chemical bond formation, and that inertness of ns electrons is called as inert pair effect, and this inert pair effect is shown by the elements of 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th groups. Not 17 and 18, not the halogens and noble gases. Okay children, so 13th group, 14th, 15th and 16th group elements, boron family, carbon, nitrogen and oxygen family members, they exhibit inert pair effect. The inability of the ns electrons to participate in bond formation is called as inert pair effect. See, how to find the stability of p block elements. Here we are having a trick. We are having a trick to find out the stability of p block elements. Down the group, the stability of n state decreases while the stability of n-2 state increases. And this is purely because of inert pair effect. Down the group from top to bottom, in a periodic table it is called as, the vertical columns in the periodic table are called as groups. So down the group, the stability of n state decreases while the stability of n-2 state increases because of inert pair effect. So which element in the p block is more stable? n-2 state. The element which has got the oxidation number n-2 is found to be more stable when compared to element with n state oxidation number. Okay, when you look into examples, you will follow. So the first consequence of inert pair effect is the stability of thallium monochloride over thallium trichloride. Which is more stable, TlCl3, thallium trichloride or TlCl, thallium monochloride? Why? Answer is thallium monochloride is more stable over thallium trichloride. TlCl is more stable than TlCl3, and the reason is because of inert pair effect. In the case of TlCl, the oxidation number for thallium is +1. In TlCl3, the oxidation number of thallium is +3. Thallium belongs to 13th group. So here n is equal to 3. N is equal to 3. See, how do we say n is equal to 3? 13th group. So 10 plus 3, 3. That 3. N is equal to 3. 13th group elements exhibit +3 to be the common oxidation state, and the highest oxidation state exhibited by 13th group elements is +3. Okay, so n is equal to +3 and n-2 is equal to n is 3, so 3 minus 2 is equal to 1. So children, the n state means plus 3 state and n minus 2 state means plus 1 state. We know that down the group, the stability of n state decreases and n minus 2 state increases. Okay, so n state means plus 3 oxidation state, n minus 2 state corresponds to plus 1. So, thallium plus 1 is more stable than thallium plus 3. Is it okay? Therefore, thallium monochloride is more stable than thallium trichloride. This is purely because of inert pair effect. Okay, children? See, similar question. Which is more stable? Lead dichloride or lead tetrachloride? Why? PbCl2, lead dichloride is more stable than lead tetrachloride, the reason being inert pair effect. Lead belongs to 14th group, so n is equal to 4, n minus 2 is equal to 4 minus 2 is equal to 2. So n minus 2 means the element to be present in plus 2 oxidation state. So Pb2 plus is more stable than Pb4 plus. In PbCl2, the oxidation number for Pb, lead is plus 2. In PbCl4, the oxidation number for lead is plus 4. So PbCl2 is more stable than PbCl4. Okay, children? The reason is Pb2 plus is more stable than Pb4 plus. So these are the consequences of inert pair effect. This is also a similar question. Which is more stable, bismuth trichloride or bismuth pentachloride? Bismuth belongs to 15th group. In bismuth trichloride, the oxidation number of bismuth is plus 3. In bismuth pentachloride, the oxidation number is plus 5. Oxidation number of bismuth is plus 5. So the n state is 5 here. So bismuth belongs to 15th group. N is equal to 5. N minus 2 is equal to 3. So Bi 3 plus is more stable when compared to Bi 5 plus. Therefore, bismuth trichloride is more stable than bismuth pentachloride. I hope you have understood this concept, children. So similar question. Which is more stable, tellurium tetrachloride or tellurium hexachloride? Tellurium belongs to 16th group, so n is equal to 6 and n minus 2 is equal to 16 minus 2 is equal to 4. In tellurium tetrachloride, oxidation number of tellurium is plus 4. In tellurium hexachloride, the oxidation number is plus 6. So, plus 4 is preferred over plus 6. Therefore, tellurium tetrachloride is more stable than tellurium hexachloride. Okay, children, the reason is inert pair effect. What is allotropism or what is allotropy? It is the phenomenon in which some elements exist in more than one form with different physical properties but same chemical properties. And those elements which have different properties are said to exhibit allotropism or allotropy, and those different physical structures are called as allotropes of those elements. In P block elements, the elements like boron, carbon, germanium, tellurium, selenium, tin, antimony, oxygen, they exhibit allotropy or allotropism. And we are going to learn those allotropes of those elements today. Okay, children? So what is allotropism? It is the phenomenon in which some elements exist in more than one form. That is, they exist in different structures. They exist in different physical physical structures. They exhibit different physical properties, but they have got the same chemical properties, and that phenomenon is called as allotropism or allotropy. So allotropy is the phenomenon in which elements exist in more than having different physical properties but same chemical properties. The different physical structures of those elements are called as the allotropes of those elements. Okay, children. Very famous and common example of allotropes are diamond, graphite, charcoal, graphene, fullerene. So all these are carbon nanotubes. All these are the allotropes of the element carbon. Then you are very familiar with the allotropes of the element phosphorus. White phosphorus, red phosphorus. You are familiar. You are familiar with the allotropes of the element oxygen. What are the allotropes of element oxygen? Dioxygen, O2, ozone, O3. Okay. So then what else? Carbon, you are familiar. Carbon, phosphorus, oxygen. So these three elements, allotropes, you are familiar. Okay, children. So now this slide gives you the p block elements which exhibit allotropism. Some 12 elements we have got here. It starts with boron, carbon, silicon, germanium, tin, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, oxygen, sulfur, selenium, and tellurium. So these p block elements, they exhibit allotropy, and they have got more than one allotropes. Okay, children. So now we are going to learn the allotropes of these elements. Some common allotropes of p block elements starts with the element boron, amorphous boron. The allotrope of one of the allotropes of the element boron is amorphous boron. What do you mean by amorphous, children? Powdery. So powdery boron. Powdery boron. From the picture you can understand the nature of amorphous boron. It's very powdery. So amorphous boron is one of the allotropes of the element boron. Coming to the other allotropes, alpha rhombohedral boron, beta rhombohedral boron, gamma orthorhombic boron, alpha tetragonal boron, beta tetragonal boron, B21, B28. Okay, children. So B21 and B28, they correspond to the number of boron atoms present in that allotrope. Here we have got various structures. You don't worry about the structure. Don't get panic by looking at the structures. They are just give you an understanding. You memorize the names of the allotropes, children. Okay. So alpha rhombohedral. Rhombohedral, where have you come across? Yes, in lesson solid state we had come across. When we were dealing with Bravis lattices, we had learnt the term rhombohedral. So rhombohedral, orthorhombic, tetragonal, all these terms are related with the structures of the allotropes, depending upon the crystallographic angles and the crystallographic axis. So here rhombohedral, alpha rhombohedral and beta rhombohedral boron, they are also allotropes. Then gamma orthorhombic, that is one allotrope of boron, alpha tetragonal, beta tetragonal. So all these alpha, beta, gamma, what are they, children? What do alpha, beta, gamma represent? They represent the crystallographic angles in a crystal. The same thing is here also. rhombohedral boron, alpha rhombohedral boron, beta rhombohedral boron, gamma orthorhombic boron, alpha tetragonal boron, beta tetragonal boron. Okay, we are not worried about B21 and 28 because that they are not given in our book. Let us concentrate up to beta tetragonal boron. Okay, children. So, what are the allotropes of boron? Amorphous boron, alpha beta rhombohedral boron, gamma orthorhombic boron, alpha beta tetragonal boron. Okay, children, there is no shortcut to memorize. You have to memorize. There is no shortcut for there is no substitute for hard work. No shortcut for hard work. Okay, you have to memorize. So what are the allotropes of boron? Amorphous boron, alpha rhombohedral boron, beta rhombohedral boron, gamma orthorhombic boron, alpha tetragonal boron and beta tetragonal boron. Okay, children? The next one is allotropes of the element carbon. How do we get varieties of carbon? Have you seen carbon anywhere? Where is it useful? Charcoal. Charcoal, we are familiar with one of the allotropes of carbon, which is charcoal. When we burn wood, the incomplete combustion of wood results in the formation of one of the allotropes of carbon, that is wood, that is charcoal. Charcoal, coal. Diamond. Diamond cuts a diamond. It is the hardest substance. It is a very good insulator. Diamond is an insulator. It has got a tetrahedral structure. It has got 4 covalent bonds. Carbon has got 4 covalent bonds. It is tetrahedral. It is very hard. It is transparent. It is very shiny. It is attractive. It is very costly. Okay. So that is, diamond is also one of the allotropes of carbon. Charcoal is one of the allotropes of carbon. Charcoal is used as a fuel in train engines. Okay. Then coming to graphite. Have you seen graphite? Yes. See, our pencil lead, no, that is made up of the allotrope of carbon called graphite. It is very slippery. It is used as a lubricant. It has got 3 covalent bonds. It has got hexagonal units. In the case of graphite, in lower classes you might have studied one layer of graphite. One layer of graphite is aligned in such a way that the other layer of graphite is over that, then other layer of graphite is over that. So layer by layer graphite is made up of. Hexagonal units make layers. And the one layer of graphite is bound to the other layer by weak van der Waals forces of attraction. So graphite is easily breakable. We can break our pencil leads very easily, no? So graphite is sometimes used as a lubricant because of its slippery nature. It is not transparent, it is opaque. What is the opposite? What is the antonym of transparent, children? Opaque. Opaque. It doesn't allow light to pass through it. So graphite is opaque in nature. Then graphite is a very good conductor of electricity. Good conductor. Whereas diamond is a bad conductor of electricity. Here graphite is a good conductor of electricity. Then the other allotropes are fullerene. Buckminster fullerene is a famous fullerene. It consists of 60 carbon atoms, 60. It looks like a football, saucer ball. It looks like a saucer ball. So 60 carbon atoms constitute one Buckminster fullerene. Then soot. Where do we get this soot, children? See, from the chimneys we can get soot. In our kitchen we have got chimneys, no? From that we get a black colored powdery form, no? That is called as soot. Then the other allotropes of carbon are graphene. Graphene. Graphene is also one of the allotropes of carbon. It is similar to graphite. In the case of graphite, many layers are there. See, from the slide you can understand, children. For graphite, many layers are given, no? For graphene, the last structure, it has got only one layer. But everything, all other things are similar to graphite. So, graphene is similar to graphite. It is also one of the allotropes of carbon. Diamond we saw. Then another one allotrope of carbon, BC8. Okay, we are not worried about that. Coming to fullerene, we saw nanotubes, carbon nanotubes. They find application in medical field, in the curing of cancer and in the treatment of cancer. And in the detection of cancer cells, nanotubes, because of their very minute size, 10 power minus 9 meter, nanotubes are very useful. Okay, children. So, what are the allotropes of carbon? Carbon has got allotropes like diamond, graphite, fullerene, nanotubes, graphene, soot, okay, charcoal. In our book, some of the allotropes are given, not all. Okay. At least these allotropes, let us be thorough. Okay. Next element is silicon. Silicon. Have you seen silicon? Yes. Our mud on which we walk, no, it is made up of the element silicon. Si. Capital S, small I. Silicon. Okay, so the mud is nothing but silica, silicon dioxide, silicon dioxide, SiO2. Allotropes of silicon are glass, quartz. So in quartz itself we have got alpha quartz and beta quartz, amorphous silicon and crystalline silicon. Amorphous and crystalline silicon we have got. Okay, children. So this slide gives you an idea about the allotropes of the element silicon. Amorphous silicon and crystalline silicon. Amorphous, powdery form, and the other is crystalline form. Next element is germanium. The allotropes of the element germanium are alpha germanium and beta germanium. What does this alpha represent? Crystallographic angle, and beta also crystallographic angle. They differ in their structure. Okay, children, the allotropes, they differ in their structure, appearance, but they are made up of the same elements. That is the only concept you have to understand here. Allotropes, listen very carefully, children. Allotropes are made up of same element, but they have got different appearance. Appearance is different, but the making up matter is the same. They are made up of the same element, but they have got different structures, different appearances. So they are called as allotropes. Okay. See, the next element is tin. Tin can, we are having many soft drinks, we get it from tin cans. So how do they prepare the tin cans? They first make it with the alloy steel, then coat it with the element tin. The nature of tin is, it is very soft and flexible, pliable metal. A new word you are learning today in chemistry is pliable metal. It means that it is flexible. The metal tin is flexible. Okay, then below 13 degrees Celsius it becomes a powder. It gets converted to a powdery form, amorphous form. So these are some information about tin. The allotropes of tin are grey tin, white tin. Okay, they differ in their size. They differ in their color. They differ in their color. Grey tin, white tin. So these two are the allotropes of tin. Then also we have got other two allotropes of tin. They are rhombic tin and sigma tin. Rhombic and sigma tin. Sometimes they are also called as alpha tin and beta tin. Okay, alpha, beta. So alpha tin, beta tin, white tin and grey tin. So all these are the allotropes of the element tin. Okay, children. This slide tells you about the allotropes present in carbon family, that is the allotropes of the element carbon: graphite, diamond, buckyball, that is Buckminster fullerene, C60. The number of carbon atoms present in Buckminster fullerene is C60. It is similar to saucer ball. Diamond, it is colorless electrical insulator, extremely hard. Graphite, it is gray in color, black or gray. Greasy means lubricative, soft, more stable than diamond. Okay, then the allotropes of tin are beta tin and alpha tin. Alpha tin is stable below 13 degrees Celsius, whereas beta tin is stable above room temperature. Stable at room temperature and above. Above 13 degrees Celsius, beta tin. The same element changes its structure according to the temperature. Below 13 degrees Celsius, it is alpha tin. Above 13 degrees Celsius, when the temperature is increased, it becomes beta tin. Okay, children. Next one is the allotropes of phosphorus, the element phosphorus. White phosphorus, red phosphorus, scarlet phosphorus, violet, black phosphorus. So all these are the allotropes of the element phosphorus. What is the how do this phosphorus exist in nature? P4. It is polyatomic in nature. Polyatomic or tetraatomic, we can say P4. P4 is the molecular state of phosphorus, the element phosphorus, P4. The allotropes of phosphorus are white, red, black, scarlet and violet. Okay, so it has got 5 allotropes of phosphorus. So these are the pictures of phosphorus: white phosphorus, red phosphorus, black phosphorus. So they are the allotropic forms of phosphorus. Okay, children. Next one is scarlet phosphorus. Scarlet, similar to red dye, scarlet phosphorus and violet phosphorus. The next element is arsenic. It has got yellow arsenic, grey arsenic and black arsenic to be its isotopes. Yellow arsenic, it is yellow in color, yellow arsenic. Next one is grey arsenic, then black arsenic. So the allotropes of arsenic are yellow, grey and black. By the color you can remember. Okay, children. For phosphorus also, by remembering the colors you can tell. For arsenic also you can remember the colors to remember the allotropes. So the next one is antimony. What is the symbol for antimony? SB. Stibium. Its Latin name is stibium. Okay, so what about its nature? It is a silvery lustrous grey and semi-metallic. It is a metalloid. It's a poor conductor of heat and electricity, burns brilliantly when heated with the formation of white fumes. Okay, then coming to this left hand side, atomic number is given as 51. Then in Greek, anti means plus, monos means a metal not found alone. So antimony is not found alone in nature, it is always present along with the other elements. Antimony sulfide, antimony oxide, like that. Okay, so antimony is always present with the other elements. So anti means plus. Monos means a metal. Mono means one, monos means many monos. So a metal not found alone. It is found along with 100 mineral species. Then it is used as a semiconductor. It is used in batteries, tracer bullets, and also cable sheathing, and it is very toxic in nature. It is very poisonous. It is very poisonous in nature. The next slide gives you an idea about the allotropes of antimony. Blue, white antimony. The metal antimony is very shiny. Blue, white antimony, yellow antimony, and black antimony. So these are the allotropes of the element antimony. What are they? Blue, white, black, and yellow. Okay. Yellow antimony is looking like a kesari. Okay. So just to remember, I am telling you. So blue, white antimony, yellow antimony, and black antimony. So antimony's allotropes also you can remember by remembering their colors. Am I right, children? Okay. See, the next slide is giving you an idea about the allotropes of oxygen. Allotropes of oxygen. Two allotropes are discussed in our book. One is dioxygen, O2. You are very familiar with O2, the molecular oxygen which we inhale during breathing. So di stands for two oxygen, dioxygen, D2, sorry, O2, dioxygen, O2. Then the next allotrope of oxygen is ozone. Ozone layer, stratosphere. In stratosphere, ozone layer is there. Ozone, O3. One more oxygen is there, extra oxygen. That's why, see, during the month of December, we have got many important celebrations. Okay, many festivals we get. Early morning we have to get up, we have to pray. Especially we have to come out of the house and we have to go to temples and pray. We say, why? Because in the early morning during the month of December, ozone layer comes very close to earth. So when we go out during around 5 o'clock in the morning, we get fresh air, we can inhale large amount of oxygen because ozone has got one more oxygen atom in it. So because of that, these festivals are arranged for us. Early morning we go for bhajans, like that, no. So that is ozone layer which comes very close to our earth. As a result, when we go early morning for a bhajan and carols and all those prayers, we get large amount of oxygen into our lungs, so our health improves. So the two allotropes of oxygen, one is dioxygen, the other is ozone. Okay, children. The next element is sulfur. It has got the allotropes like rhombus sulfur and monoclinic sulfur. When we compare the stability of rhombic or rhombus, both are same. Rhombic sulfur and monoclinic sulfur. Rhombic is more stable below 369 Kelvin and monoclinic sulfur is more stable above 369 Kelvin. It is lemon in color. Rhombic sulfur is lemon in color and monoclinic sulfur is a little bit dull yellow color. dull yellow, that is lemon yellow. Rhombic is lemon yellow and this is dull yellow. And rhombic sulfur, it is formed when a most stable form of sulfur is rhombic sulfur, when it is obtained by slowly evaporating a solution of roll sulfur in carbon disulfide. When sulfur solution is solidified, cool, evaporated. When we evaporate a solution of sulfur, we get rhombic sulfur in the presence of carbon disulfide. This is not needed, just for your information I am telling you, children. Okay, see this structure, all these things are not needed. See, if you learn this topic in picture form, I think it will be long standing in your memory and it will be easy for you to memorize this tabular column. I feel so, that's why I have given like this. So monoclinic also we have got, when we compare the shapes of allotropes of sulfur, monoclinic sulfur is needle-like structure. The structure is like needle-like and here it is like crystalline. Okay, that is rhombic. First structure is monoclinic. It has got a needle-like structure. So rhombic sulfur and monoclinic sulfur. So all these are the allotropes of sulfur. Monoclinic sulfur has got a structure like needles, needle-like structure, monoclinic. Remember, remember. You have all got very good memory. You are all very smart and you can remember all these things very easily. This is nothing in front of your smartness. Okay, children. So monoclinic sulfur, it has got needle-like structure, whereas the color of rhombic sulfur is lemon yellow. Monoclinic is dull yellow. Okay. Amorphous sulfur is powdery form of sulfur. Okay. Coming to this slide, we can convert one allotrope of sulfur to the other allotrope. This concept also you have to learn, children. See, some allotropes are very stable at particular temperature. When the temperature is altered, when the temperature is increased or decreased, one form of the allotrope gets changed to the other allotrope. Rhombic gets converted to monoclinic sulfur above 96 degrees Celsius. Similarly, monoclinic sulfur gets converted to rhombic sulfur above 96 degrees Celsius. Okay. So like that this conversion takes place. Next element is selenium. Selenium. What is the symbol for selenium, children? Se, selenium. The allotropes of selenium are amorphous black, metallic gray, amorphous red. Okay, amorphous red, black selenium, monoclinic selenium. So like that we have got different allotropes of the element selenium. Amorphous black selenium, amorphous powdery form, amorphous black selenium, metallic gray, amorphous red selenium. I have seen red selenium. Okay, red selenium. Next one is monoclinic selenium. You have to remember, children, monoclinic selenium. So all these are the allotropes of selenium. Next one is allotropes of tellurium, the element tellurium. Amorphous tellurium. The first one is amorphous. It is very powdery, powdery form of the metal tellurium is amorphous, and the crystalline form is crystalline tellurium. Okay, so tellurium exhibits two allotropes. One is amorphous, the other is crystalline. Okay, children. Now, to check our understanding, we have got a small test. Which of the following are allotropes? which of the following are allotropes? First option is nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide. Second option is nitrogen 14 and nitrogen 15. Third option is CH3COOK. What is this compound? Potassium ethanoate. Potassium ethanoate. What is the second compound there? And CH3COONA. Sodium ethanoate. Okay, sodium ethanoate. It is ethanoic acid. One hydrogen is removed. As a result, potassium salt of ethanoic acid. First one. Second one, sodium salt of ethanoic acid. Okay, children. Okay. Then coming to the fourth option. What is the functional group present in the first compound? Can you recall? Organic compound. CH3, CH2O, CH3. Ether. What is the functional group present there? It is ether. Or can you name this compound? Methoxyethane. You have studied. You know this compound. You are familiar. The thing is you have to recall. Okay, children. So this is methoxyethane. Methoxyethane. And the second compound in that same option is CH3, CH2, CH2OH. How many carbon atoms are there? 3. What is the functional group? OH, alcohol. To which carbon OH is present? First carbon. So what is its name? 1-propanol. Prop stands for 3. An, propan, An stands for single bonds between the carbon among the carbon atoms. Okay, so here 1-propanol is the name of this compound. Coming to the last option, S2, sulfur disulfide. Okay. 2 sulfur atoms combine to form disulfide, and this is S8, polyatomic form of sulfur. Octasulfide. Okay. Now, what is the question, children? Which of the following are allotropes? What do you mean by an allotrope? Atoms of the same element with different physical properties and same chemical properties are called as allotropes. Allotropes are made up of the same element. They have got different appearance. They have got the same chemical properties. Okay. So here, come to the first option. It is not made up of, see, 2 compounds are given, NO and NO2, nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide. They are not made up of the same compound, same elements. One compound has got only 1 oxygen, the other is having 1 more oxygen, so they are different. So they are not allotropes, they are different compounds. Coming to the second option, N, nitrogen. 14 and 15. What are they? They are isotopes. Atoms of the same element with the same atomic number and different mass numbers are called as isotopes. So nitrogen 14 and nitrogen 15 are isotopes. Coming to the third option, potassium salt of ethanoic acid and sodium salt of ethanoic acid. What are they? They are salts. They are not allotropes. Okay. Coming to the next one, they are functional isomers. Isomers we had studied, no? What do you mean by isomer, children? Listen very patiently, okay? What to do? See here, coming to the fourth option, what are isomers, children? Atoms, that is, isomers are the compounds which have the same molecular formula but different structural formulae. The functional group may be different. We have got the position isomer, chain isomer, some are linear, some are branched, metamerism, tautomerism, isomers. Okay, so here they are functional isomers. You can count the number of carbon atoms. 3 carbon atoms, hydrogen 8. Am I right? 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. So three carbon atoms, 8 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. See, both the compounds, they have got 3 carbon atoms, 8 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. But they are different. One is ether, the other is alcohol. Okay, so they are functional isomers. Coming to the last option, S2 and S8. S2 is violet color gas and S8 is polyatomic, yellow solid. Look at their structures. Sulfur, disulfide, S double bond S. What about S8? 8 octahedron. Okay, one sulfur is bound to the other sulfur by a single bond. The structure of S2 and S8 differs and they are made up of the same element, sulfur alone. Sulfur alone. So they are called as allotropes. Sorry children, allotropes. So S2 and S8 are allotropes. Whereas the other options, they are ruled out. They don't come into this line. They are not the answers for allotropes. Some are isomers, some are isotopes, some are compounds. Okay, so S2 and S8, they are the allotropes of sulfur. Okay children? Yes. I hope you have understood today's class. Thank you children.